Angelina Jolie, Narcissist, Part 5. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. We continue our examination of Angelina Jolie, and we now move on to her intimate relationships, which often provides us with considerable insight with regard to an individual's behaviour and what we can deduce from that. Jolie recalled that when she was 14, she visited London for the first time. And that's, she said, when she discovered her problem. English men appear to be so reserved, but underneath they are expressive, perverse, and wild. All the insane moments in my life have happened with English men. On the face of it, that might look like quite an entertaining quotation, but actually it's a subtle form of blame shifting. It's explaining all of the insanity that she engaged in was because it was the Englishman's fault. With this in mind, it was perhaps inevitable that just at the age of 19, Angelina would fall for British actor Johnny Lee Miller on the set of Hackers. This film follows a group of young people who are trying to prevent the unleashing of a dangerous computer virus while being pursued by the US Secret Service. Miller and Jolie play computer-literate teens, Dade Murphy and Kate Libby, who get caught up in the corporate scam after accidentally hacking into the computer system. She explained that I always fall in love while I'm working on a film. Notice the use of the absolute, I always. The fact that she always falls in love on a film. That she quite readily admits to it, showing a brazen approach to this admission. But furthermore, it shows that she has a skewed idea of what love is. And also, it's clearly the case that she has worked with people on a film that she's fallen in love with while she's in a relationship with someone else, something we will come to in due course. She explained, it's like discovering you have a fatal illness with only a short time to live. So you live and love twice as deep. Although the two actors were quite opposite in nature, she was outspoken and bolshy, he was shy and introverted, the seed of love had been sown. The couple eloped to Los Angeles in March 1996, 6 months after Hackers was released. Accordingly, this shows a swift coupling, which is often the hallmark of the narcissist's approach to a relationship, in order to monopolize that individual to ensure that they are under control and to draw fuel from them. Interestingly, Miller said that he was the one that he chased Angelina all over the world. I chased her all over North America until she succumbed. It took a while, a few good 1,000 miles, but this is commensurate with the modus operandi of Angelina Jolie. She knows her worth. She knows her attractiveness. She knows her magnetism. And she's perfectly content to play a waiting game to enable that individual to come after her. Of course, she can't just have nothing to do with them. She'll be throwing the crumbs of comfort to them, the little flirtations here and there. But she is of a particular nature whereby she has almost that inner confidence to know that he's after me. Witness what was said about her in her childhood or teens, when it's described how she would cause the boys to chase after her and then she would push them away. When Miller fell in love with her, she told him that caring about someone so deeply made her sad, and that after filming was finished, he should forget about her. That, of course, is a deliberate ploy to make him want her all the more, and is a form of manipulation. Their relationship was one that later on, when she was filming, she would often not communicate with her husband. At one point, during filming, she told him, I'm alone, I'm dying, I'm gay, I'm not going to see you for weeks, in effect giving him a prolonged silent treatment. Although there can be no doubt that Miller admired his wife's dedication to her craft, it was clear to him that he wasn't the most important thing in her life, which Jolie admits was one of the main reasons for the breakdown of their relationship. This demonstrates a focus on the self-absorption, potentially a lack of emotional empathy. In fact, for the duration of filming, Jolie cut herself off from everyone, choosing not to do anything, not to have friends, not to hang out with people. This was during the filming of Gia. When she married Miller, the first wedding outfit was rubber pants and a t-shirt with Miller's name written in her own blood. She told the New York Times, "It's your husband. You're about to marry him. You can sacrifice a little to make it really special." They met in 1995 and tied the knot in March 1996. They separated in 1999, thus demonstrating a short-lived relationship, again, a hallmark of a narcissistic entanglement. Here we see that she caused him to pursue her, that she drew him in, that she made it very clear in a haughty and uncaring way that he came second to what she wanted, and that while she was focused on filming, that mattered more than the relationship. That demonstrates a lack of accountability to that relationship and also an absence of emotional empathy for Miller. What is interesting, however, is what else occurred during her relationship with Miller. During filming, Angelina became very close to Jenny Shimizu, the Japanese-American model turned actress who is most famous for appearing in the Calvin Klein CK1 adverts. Angelina said of meeting Jenny, "I fell in love with her the first second I saw her." Such an early declaration of love on meeting somebody is demonstrative of the grandiosity, magical thinking, and sense of entitlement of the narcissist. Furthermore, she was in a relationship with Johnny Lee Miller at the time, and therefore that shows a lack of emotional empathy for him as a consequence of this infidelity. She continued by saying, "I wanted to kiss and touch her. I noticed her sweater and the way her pants fitted, and I thought, my God, I was getting incredibly strong sexual feelings. I realized I was looking at her in a way I look at men. It never crossed my mind that one day I was going to experiment with a woman. I just happened to fall for a girl." Sexual fluidity, of course, is another common theme with the narcissist. Essentially, whatever it takes to get hold of the prime aims, whether it's man or woman, doesn't really matter with certain narcissists, and it also demonstrates a lack of boundary recognition. Shimizu was similarly taken with Jolie and described their courtship as being more emotional than sexual in the early stages. During breaks in filming Foxfire, I got to sit down with this person, Angelina, and spend 2 weeks with her, meeting her and talking with her before anything got sexual. I actually felt like I was caring for someone more than simply just having sex. And I didn't feel like there was a straight girl that I was just bedding and she was going to freak out the next morning. We had established such a nice relationship that I felt this girl would have me back no matter what. I knew this person would be loyal and wonderful to me. The girls didn't just hang out on set, but spent a lot of time together after filming was finished. Monopolization of time. We used to visit. The only fly in Jenny and Angelina's ointment was the presence of Johnny Lee Miller in Jolie's life. And although men often fantasize about lesbian sex, the reality was that Angelina's new relationship didn't turn him on one bit. Quelle surprise. Jenny said of the love triangle, "We were already sleeping together when I met Johnny while on Foxfire. She told both of us how she felt, and we all went out to dinner one night. She was honest. That's how she's been her whole life." Whilst it might be passed off as honesty, the level of breathtaking arrogance to take two sexual partners out, being married to one, and introducing them to one another, thus triangulating the both of them, shows a particularly high level of control. As an openly sexual person, and someone who isn't scared to push boundaries, It wouldn't be a surprise if Angelina had suggested her two lovers get together and indulged in a threesome, but according to Jenny, this was never on the cards. We didn't have a threesome, she said. I'm not really into that. It was a friendship the three of us had, but there wasn't much conversation with Johnny. I think he was very threatened by me. An unsurprising response in that regard. By this time, Angelina had established quite a reputation as an S&M queen, and Jenny didn't escape Jolie's fascination with knives. Along come the knives again, a fascination with inanimate object and the risk associated with it, which shows a failure to abide by lawful norms. It's not so much we were dressed in leather capes and masks and there were chains, it was emotional. I would restrain her with my arms, but we didn't get into buying stuff. We just used whatever props were available if we wanted to. She was a collector of knives and taught me about them. Jenny also described Angelina as a very dominant personality. Again, something that's often seen with narcissists. Once she displays love for you, she wants to know how much you care about her. That wanting to know, of course, is demonstrative of the need to control somebody and the receipt of fuel. Although Jolie says that her attraction to Jenny took her by surprise, prior to meeting Jenny, she had admitted that her modelling days had helped her to see women in a sexual light. I did some modelling years ago and shared a cabin with one woman. I was in my black pants and t-shirt watching television. She was in a little G-string putting lotion on her whole body with nail care too, making sure every single inch of her legs were shaved. It was sexy for me to see a woman like that. She looked all glossy and I wanted to eat her. You have to live for moments like that. If there was ever a predatory comment, that's it. Jolie said, I don't want to be provocative and say I'm bisexual, but I understand the love of one woman for another because I've felt it. Again, this is the magical thinking of a narcissist, believing that they understand people's minds. I like everything. Boyish girls, girlish boys, the heavy and the skinny, which is a problem when I'm walking down the street. This is also demonstrative of magical thinking and believing that because she likes everybody, everybody will want her in return. The wedding that took place between Jolie and Miller was one of the more out there ceremonies, which, as I've mentioned, she wore black leather trousers and a white t-shirt with her husband's name scrawled on the back in her own blood. I consider it poetic, she said after the wedding. Some people write poetry, others give themselves a little cut. It meant a lot. She explained about the marriage. The way we both feel about life is to live in the moment and not think of the future. That, of course, is demonstrative of a narcissistic mindset. Even if we divorce, I would have been married to somebody I really loved and know what it was to be a wife for a few years. Marriage is no bigger deal than signing a piece of paper that commits you to someone. Interestingly, of course, that just shows a sort of dismissive and commoditized attitude towards a marriage. Eventually, the marriage foundered, with Angelina admitting that she wasn't able to give her husband the time and attention he deserved. It's just that I wasn't being a wife. I think we really needed to grow, and we always talked about getting remarried, but he really had to put up with quite a lot. Certainly my career is first, and for some reason, I seem to meet a lot of men who say they are like that, but for some reason, it just doesn't turn out that way. It was evident that Miller would place the relationship before his career, but the same could not be said of Angelina Jolie, and she would be the first to admit that her strong desire for independence, which of course could be translated as a need for control, may well have been a direct result of her parents' divorce. I don't know if my childhood was any worse than anyone else's, but it is disturbing and sad when you see one parent figure not respecting the other. Accordingly, two relationships, one whereby she treated Miller as a commodity, notwithstanding the flattering words, and that she cheated on him, but did so in a brazen fashion. We turn to another relationship in part 6. Join me there.